Are you about to buy a brand new construction home here in the state of Utah? Hold up. That shiny new kitchen and all of those features that come along with the brand new shiny home can hide expensive surprises and headaches, radon, soil issues, HOA fees, and so much more. And in this video today, I'm sharing the 7 big red flags that every buyer needs to know. And if we haven't met yet, I'm Steele, and I help people just like you every single day, from buyers to builders to everything in between. This is my area of expertise. And my favorite thing to do is to help families and individuals really kick off and launch that Utah lifestyle that so many people just dream of. And so if you're looking at buying a new construction home, you're going to want to make sure you watch this video before you write any checks. Okay, first up, red flag number 1, let's talk about radon. If you don't know what radon is, it's a naturally occurring gas, and it really is experienced here in Utah at very high levels. In fact, 1 out of 3 homes here in Utah tests positive for radon above the acceptable EPA level. Our naturally occurring radon levels, our average in our homes here, are 3 times the national average. The good news though is we have very simple mitigation radon systems that will help eliminate this problem altogether, but it's something you need to understand and to know. And look, builders often skip the process of radon mitigation systems or passive radon mitigation systems. And those mitigation systems can cost $2,000, $3,000, or even $4,000 after the fact. So we want to make sure that we get this taken care of early in the process, as it's much cheaper to do so early on as opposed to doing it after the fact, especially when you have those radon tubes sticking out the side of your home that, in my opinion, are just incredibly unsightly. Why not plan ahead and get this done right out of the gate? In my opinion, it's smarter to do this prior to the build of the home to make sure you're doing it throughout the process. It's actually quite cheap and inexpensive to just add this to the mix when you're building a home. And it's super easy to create that pipe system that really creates that negative pressure with that blower that's pulling that gas out from underneath your home and letting it escape above your roof. It's really simple how this mitigation system works. It's just a matter of knowing that this even exists and that you need to take care of this. And so one of the questions I will ask every builder whenever we're looking at new homes for you is, does this home have a radon mitigation system, and what can we do to do this either prior to or after the build, depending on the situation and the timing as to when you enter the process of buying that home. Regardless, I've got your back. I'll make sure that you're taken care of so that you don't have to worry about radon. Okay, next up, let's talk about soil and foundations. Utah's mountainous terrain means expansive soils and the risk of slope movement on your home in your neighborhood, depending on where you're located specifically. For example, homes in the foothills like parts of Draper or Alpine or maybe Lehigh or even up north in North Salt Lake may need special foundations or extra geotesting. What this means, it really comes down to the soil. There are complete neighborhoods in certain areas in Utah where I'm definitely more concerned about foundations. There's even a neighborhood on the west side of Bountiful that the entire neighborhood is experiencing massive, extensive foundation problems. And the last thing I want to do is to put you into one of those homes where you're going to be just another one of those people that's experiencing those problems. Now, the good news is most places in Utah, we don't have to be nearly as concerned as others. However, just a few years ago, there was a massive story here in Utah that broke in the city of Draper up on the hill, where a couple of homes actually slid down the mountain in the middle of the night. Now, the good news is this was really well known prior to the event. It actually was known several months in advance that these homes were moving. And there were about, I think, 8 or 9 homes that were completely condemned. It might be even 10 to 12 homes. But those homes were poorly built on top of soil that was not compacted correctly to withstand that record-breaking winter that we had the year before. And because I've seen brand new homes slide down the mountain, I want to make sure that the area, the soil, the foundation are actually going to hold up to make sure that you're making a wise investment depending on where you're going. Now, luckily, I've been in Utah my entire life, not only building homes and renovating homes, but as a real estate professional as well. I know this state like the back of my hand, and I know the problem areas. So we can really dial in those particular areas. And if you're considering buying in one of those areas that's more prone to these problems, we're going to do a deep dive in terms of our due diligence to make sure that you're not going to end up as another one of these statistics. And the last thing I want to see is a client of mine having to deal with soil problems or foundation problems after the fact. I just don't want to ever see that. Okay, next up, the third red flag is workmanship. And this is a big one. In fact, I'm going through the process with a client right now who is under contract on a home. And I've sold homes from all of the builders here. I've done so many transactions with every single builder that I've really got some great perspective as to what my experience has been, not only from the agent's perspective, but also from my clients. And you'd be shocked to see how incredibly well some builders perform. In fact, it's oftentimes the builders that you would least expect to do so, while others sometimes completely drop the ball. And what I've noticed is, as I'm going through the process currently with a home that's a real struggle in terms of craftsmanship, I want to point out things as we build this home to make sure that my clients understand what they're getting, and they're not necessarily getting that perfect picture home that they're seeing in the model home. And while those model homes are photogenic and the finishes are beautiful and amazing, that's not necessarily what you're going to get when you buy their new home. You're going to have massive upgrades to achieve that same level of finish, but it shouldn't mean that you have to compromise in craftsmanship and workmanship in the home. And no, new homes don't mean that they're flawless. No home is. There's no such thing as a perfect home. But this particular home that I'm working on with a client right now, there are so many little problems that it's just simply due to lack of supervision by the builder in managing and supervising their subcontractors. Their subcontractors are not being held to a really high standard, therefore making really bad mistakes. I'll share a few of those. For example, this home that I'm helping a client navigate the purchase of right now is currently under construction. And it has been a difficult one because so many problems have occurred. Subcontractors have done something wrong, and we've caught those mistakes, but now they're having to go back and fix all of those things. And luckily, the builder is responding in such a way that they're actually tearing things apart completely to do them right. And that is really what I'm great at doing, getting builders to perform and to execute the build to the standards that are customary. So I want to make sure that my client is happy, and we're not going to be happy if we're spotting things like I am in this home. For example, the finished carpenter. Whoever installed the doors in this home should not be allowed to ever install another door. They're making very big mistakes that mean door gaps are terrible, to the point where even through the hinges you can see light through the door on the other side because the door is not level and plumb on the hinge side of the opening. And that problem only gets magnified when the carpenter then puts casing around the door and the casing is drastically skewed from the wall right next to it. So this is just one of the problems. There's countless finish work problems in the home with respect to the finished carpenter, as well as an entire wall that is just a massive S-curve as it goes down the room that they've had to completely tear the wall apart, reframe the wall, and rebuild it. And those are things that we want to make sure that we catch early on in the process prior to closing and signing for everything on your home, because the best way to hold a builder accountable is during the process of building, not after the fact. And then when I go through these homes with my clients and I outline the things that need to be taken care of with the builder, and then they make that repair incorrectly, I'm going to call that out just as much. For example, on this same home, they actually cut in an electrical outlet in the island, which is required by code. The island has to have an electrical outlet, but they placed it under the overhang of the bar, and the cabinets on the side completely enclose the bar, the overhang of the bar, which means there's no corbels, there's no opening there. In other words, you'd have to go underneath the overhang, which is 18 inches, to plug something into at this point, a useless outlet. I just don't see the point. So they agreed that they needed to move the outlet and replace the back panel to the island, but they didn't do that. They just patched it, and they tried to make it look blended and make it look as good as possible. But I'm simply not going to be satisfied with that type of craftsmanship. They need to execute as it should have been done right the first time, and that's not honestly your problem as a buyer to make sure that we hold these builders accountable. And that's something that I really take a lot of pride in, and I will do for you just like I do with every single client. And this workmanship component is something I talk about endlessly with so many people. One of the feelings that so many people have today is that the homes built today are far inferior in quality to the homes built in the past. And to that question or that statement, I would give you my professional opinion, and I feel very strongly about this, that homes are far better built today than they were just a few decades ago from a structural perspective. The building science that underlies the construction and the build, making homes more efficient, more practical, and just better functioning is far superior. Where they come in short and where they really lack is the finishes, and that's precisely why so many people share this feeling that homes are not as well built today as they were in decades past, because we use MDF baseboard as opposed to wood. We use less expensive flooring. We don't use that hardwood flooring and materials that just hold up for 3, 4, or even 5 decades. The cabinets are cheaper. The light fixtures are cheaper. So the finishes and the fixtures that you actually see within the home, yes, they are cheaper. The home itself, however, is built much better today than it was a few decades ago. And while we're on the topic of workmanship and making sure that we guide you through this process, yes, I will be your guide and your advocate throughout the entire building process to make sure that the builder is performing as expected and as they should to deliver that home that you deserve and that you're paying for. But we're also going to bring in a third-party inspector to give their opinion on the build as well, so that we can make sure that we have multiple sets of eyeballs on your home to catch any mistakes. Okay, that was fun. Next up, let's talk about HOA and fees, because this is something that not everybody is really wanting to participate in. Master planned communities have amenities, but they also have those dreaded HOA fees and special assessments at times. And the best piece of advice that I can give you here is let's just do our due diligence and make sure that you know the area, the community, and the CC&Rs of that neighborhood and that HOA to make sure that you're getting into a community that you'll enjoy and you'll be happy with. And that's my job. I'll make sure before you commit to any neighborhood that we know what these things are all about. Okay, red flag number 5 is utility infrastructure and connection costs. Now, this is something that most people never think about, and oftentimes we probably don't even have to, but it's always something on my radar to make sure I'm guiding you through the process and making sure that you're getting into the perfect place. Builders might not include landscaping or even utility hookups in their base prices. In some suburbs, certain parts of Utah, developers pass on landscape water meters or even gas line charges, which can sometimes be $5,000 to $10,000 after closing. So we want to make sure that we clarify what's included and what's not. And the bottom line here is we want to make sure that that contract price that we're paying for that home is providing exactly what we understand to be needed to make sure that you're not coming up with anything unexpected and surprising at the closing table. Okay, red flag number 6 is resale focused. This is something that I've seen in certain communities here in the state of Utah, and I want to make sure that I call it out. And the best way to sum this up is market saturation. The last thing that we want to see is drive into a community and see a tract of 500 new homes and 300 of them are just sitting there for sale. Now, luckily, for quite a few years here in the state of Utah, we haven't had that problem simply because we've got so much demand for our real estate here. But the last thing you want to do is to invest and buy in a community where the value of your home is going to either drop or stay stagnant for many years because the neighborhood and the market is oversaturated. And what that means to you is if you end up having to sell that home, you very well may take a loss on that home if you have to sell it. And that's a situation I don't want any client to have to experience. In fact, there's a home right now that I see on the market that's a great property. It's a great buy. And they're selling it right now for $100,000 below what they paid for it just in 2022. And for me, what this means for me as your guide and your real estate agent is to check permit data as well as builder sales timelines. This will tell me everything I need to know as to the saturation of the market in that specific area and that community. And if 3 new subdivisions pop up right next to yours with a better product, it only leads to reason that your value of your property would stagnate at that point for some time. So understanding not only what's going on in your community, but the area right around it is crucial. Okay, red flag number 7 is just not understanding the reputation of a builder and how they handle problems when they come up. Because ultimately, every builder makes mistakes, because orchestrating that build of a home that in its entirety that takes orchestrating 200, 300 people to do the right thing in their job, is really difficult. So there's no such thing as a perfect home. But in my opinion, the mark of a good builder is a builder that solves the problems reasonably in a timely manner, and they do it right the second time. Because not every builder and every subcontractor is going to do the build best way right out of the gate. But that's where my job comes in, to make sure that I can get my eyeballs on that, to make sure that I'm catching those things and we get them taken care of. And I also believe that a builder is only as good as their worst subcontractor. You can have a great build, but if the finished carpenter is terrible, you're gonna probably nitpick everything else about the house and you're gonna find a lot of problems. So it really comes down to the worst subcontractor on the job. And I wanna make sure that I'm catching those mistakes throughout the build to make sure that you're ending up with the home that you deserve and that you're paying for. Okay, just to recap the 7 red flags that you need to watch for, I'll put them right here on screen. Number 1 is make sure that we have a radon system if needed on that particular home. Number 2 is we want to check soil as well as the foundations to make sure that we're building a home on top of soil that will actually hold up to it. Number 3 is we want to make sure that we cover everything with respect to workmanship as well as the builder warranty with respect to that workmanship. Number 4, it's everything about the HOA, including the dues and the fees and any potential assessments. Number 5 is other utility costs and connection fees to make sure that everything's included that you would expect. Number 6 is market saturation. We want to make sure that you're buying a home in a smart place that you're going to see the upside that you're hoping to gain over the course of the coming years. And number 7, it's about builder reputation. And for this reason, reach out to me because this is my area of expertise and I help people buy new homes from every single builder. It's something I really enjoy doing and I enjoy the process of navigating that process for my clients. Knowing these 7 red flags, take a moment, ask your agent, whether that's me or somebody else, make sure that they have this as an arrow in their quiver, an area of expertise that they focus on, because not every agent is created equally, nor do most agents actually understand the new construction process. But we also want to check with the builder to make sure that we're holding that builder accountable to making sure that you end up with the finished product that you deserve. And in my opinion, buying a new home should not be a gamble, nor should it be a terrible experience. With a bit of savvy planning and a little bit of foresight, and with reaching out to the right person to guide you along the way, you'll lock in that value and that experience and that lifestyle that you're looking for in your new home. So if that's you and you're considering buying a new home, or perhaps you're trying to weigh the differences between an existing home and a new home, and you're looking to make the move to or within the state of Utah, my team and I would love to be your real estate resource of choice. Reach out to us. You can find my contact information down below, and you can even book a video call with me in that link that you'll find in the pinned comment. But if this is the type of content that's really helpful for you, subscribe to this channel to stay updated with more videos that are coming up that will give you the guidance that you're looking for to make the best possible decisions. And if you're looking to learn more about life in Utah, check out this playlist next. And until the next video, thanks.